Hey guys, so it's a quick one for Inazuma valve clearance check. Here are the tools. You can see a 10mm socket, 8mm, 17mm socket, 10mm spark plug socket, 6mm hex, with an adapter to make it short as possible because it's quite tight fit. Special tool from Suzuki to adjust valves, feeler gauges, needle nose pliers, ratchet, torque wrenches, screwdriver, 8mm wrench, a breaker bar just to turn the crank. That was a 10mm hex as well. So here you can see the weird order. I already got the head off, but the reverse is a bit more complex, so I'll do it the other way. Spark plugs out, head off. First you have to obviously get the plug out to see if where the crank position is. These are the feeler gauges you need. 0.007 to 0.009 is the range for the exhaust valves. And for the intake valves, it's 0.002 to 0.004, so very thin sort of gauges here for the intake valves. So yeah, this is the plug you open to see the position of the crank, and this is another plug you open with the 10mm hex wrench. Yeah, you have to turn counterclockwise, remember that's the direction for this engine. Notice a notch and the position. You see the line and R, letter R, so that indicates it's the right cylinder. And now you can test the exhaust and intake on the right cylinder. For testing the left cylinder, you have to turn the crank counterclockwise, of course, the one direction, 540 degrees. Which is what I'm trying to indicate here badly. Once you do that, the notch on the camshaft will be pointing at 6 o'clock sort of position. And this is according to the manual. Even though there's another line with an L, probably indicating the left cylinder, when I follow the manual 540 degrees, I don't really see the next line. However, the feeler gauges do fit correctly, so yeah, you can see that the notch is pointing roughly down. It should be more parallel to the head, but yeah, you can just test the intake and the exhaust for the left cylinder now. Doing a bad job here, but I made sure it's in the middle of the range for both, so 0.008 for the exhaust and 0.003 for the intakes. This is a special Suzuki tool to adjust the tappets. You can probably get other brands as well, I think, and that's an 8mm wrench. Once you adjust the valves, I do it with the feeler gauge in, so 0.008 for that exhaust. You should torque the bolt to 10 Newton meters using an 8mm socket, and then retest the clearances once this is done, just in case it's been moved. For me, it didn't move at all. It was fine after torquing up, but just in case, you may have to resort to a 90-degree 8mm spanner with a torque wrench adapter instead if you can't get it to not move. I tested it properly after. Oh yep, here you just make sure the dowels are still in place on the head. You don't lose them or drop them in the engine. So once you put the head back on and you put the 4 bolts back in, slightly oiled with motor oil, the first round is 10 Newton meters. all 4 bolts are torqued to 10 newton meters. The second round, which is what I'm showing you now, is 14 newton meters. So first 10 on all 4 bolts, then 14. Now install the plugs back. These are torqued to only 11 newton meters, so not very tight at all. You can see how dirty the bike is, even though I washed it not long ago with a power washer. So yep, 11 newton meters. Just shows you how fast it gets grimy. I think it's ACF 50. After cleaning it, just picks up everything. In the manual, you're supposed to put some silicone sealant around the head gasket, or not the head gasket, the valve cover gasket. Yeah, put the plugs back on. Disconnect this, reconnect this hose. I forgot what the name of the hose is. Yeah, now just the engine covers. These are just cosmetic. The bolts are 10 newton meters on the manual, but I just hand tighten it with those because it's purely cosmetic. Yeah, so now you just have to, I cable tie this up to get out of the way, but now just have to put the coolant reservoir back. You can get away with just leaving the bottom right bolt on and just rotating it down, which I've done in the past, but this time I got it out of the way fully. You may have to, when you are torquing the head, you may have to use a 1/4 inch adapter for the 6mm hex to enable it to fit in the small area on the right side of the engine. So just make sure the hose routing is still correct. Yep, so now you just slide these the indicator panel and stuff. There's one hook there, there's one tab there, and there's one hole which goes into another tab in the frame, which I'll show you now. So there's the tab from the frame, there's a hole for the hook from the cover, and there's another tab that goes into the rectangular bit, and also obviously connect the indicators. There's 2 hex spots as well, so there's 3 tabs for this panel, side panel. There's a lot of panels on this bike. It's kind of irritating for a naked bike having to take all them off, but it's not too hard. You get used to it. So for the indicator panels, usually you have to pull them forward towards the front of the bike to get them off. So to avoid breaking things. So obviously I didn't show you taking all these parts off, but when you start is the reverse order. The last cover has a little notch tab that goes into the hole and then back before you push it into the push the other tabs into the rubber grommets. So you just have to be careful with that tab, otherwise you might snap it. Probably doesn't cause too much of a problem because it's screwed on as well, but it's always annoying when you snap the covers and fairings and stuff on bikes. So just one last screw. There's also a cover on top of the petrol tank which I forgot to record, but it's very easy. It's 2 bolts and it just slides forward. That one is a simple, you need to take it off to get the side panels off. And that's it. Well, valve clearance is done. I didn't have to adjust mine for a while actually, because they just seem to not move much. So there's a good chance that you won't have to adjust them very frequently, but it's good to do them at least maybe in, I I'd say at least 6,000 miles, because this is so fast. It's like a 2-hour job, maybe even less if you get good at it. And I recommend, I don't know, carrying a tool belt or something, so you can just have all these like sockets and things ready and set for you to easily start adjusting. Thanks for watching.